craziest reptile abilities, explained in 16 minutes. Chameleon. The chameleon does not change color to blend in. That is the part everyone gets wrong, and it matters, because what it actually does is more interesting. The outer layer of a chameleon's skin contains specialized cells called iridophores, packed with microscopic crystals arranged in a precise lattice. When the chameleon is calm, those crystals sit close together and reflect short wavelengths, blue, green. When it is excited, stressed, or in the presence of a rival, muscles pull the skin taut and the lattice stretches. The crystals spread apart. The reflected wavelengths shift toward the longer end of the spectrum, yellow, orange, red. The color is not pigment, it is physics. The animal is refracting light in real time. Camouflage is a secondary use of a system that evolved primarily for communication. A male panther chameleon spotting a rival does not slowly blend into the branch. It explodes into color. Vivid horizontal stripes fire across its flanks like a warning flag. A female signaling rejection turns black. The same animal reads its own skin, the way you read a face. Jackson's chameleon can complete a full color change in 20 seconds. The turret eyes, each moving independently, provide a 360-degree visual field. The tongue, which it never uses to communicate, launches at 26 body lengths per second, faster than a fighter jet accelerates, and returns with prey before the prey's nervous system has finished registering that something moved. The camouflage is real. It just was never the point. Komodo dragon. The Komodo dragon has been killing things for 4 million years with a toolkit that should not work, and science spent most of the 20th century misunderstanding which part of it was actually doing the killing. The long-standing explanation was bacteria. The mouth of a Komodo contains dozens of bacterial strains, including strains of Staphylococcus and Pasteurella, and the conventional wisdom held that a bite did not need to kill outright. The infection would do it eventually. Prey that escaped would die within days from sepsis, and the dragon would track it by smell across several kilometers. In 2009, a team from the University of Melbourne scanned the skull of a Komodo and found venom glands, not crude ones, ducts running between the teeth, secreting a complex anticoagulant that prevents the blood from clotting and sends blood pressure into free fall. The bacteria story was not wrong, it was just incomplete. The dragon was always doing both simultaneously. It reaches 3 meters and 70 kilograms. It can run at 20 kilometers per hour in short bursts and has been documented dragging prey 3 times its own weight. The forked tongue samples chemical particles in the air and cross-references them between nostrils with enough precision to determine the direction, distance, and size of a carcass from 9 kilometers away. It has been observed eating 80% of its own body weight in a single meal. It digests for weeks, then it eats again. Horned lizard. The horned lizard is 10 centimeters of desert-adapted pragmatism, and when everything else fails, it shoots blood out of its eyes. This is not an exaggeration, and it is not a defense mechanism that evolved by accident. Ocular autohemorrhaging is a precision response. When threatened by a canid predator, coyotes, wolves, domestic dogs, the horned lizard restricts blood flow leaving the head. Pressure in the ocular sinuses builds rapidly until small blood vessels around the eyelids rupture. A pressurized stream of blood can reach distances of up to 1.5 meters. The blood contains chemical compounds specifically distasteful to canid predators. It does not work on birds of prey, which is why the lizard runs from hawks and bleeds at coyotes. The animal knows the difference. It can expel up to a third of its total blood volume this way without apparent harm, and replenishes within hours. The horned lizard also eats almost exclusively harvester ants, insects whose formic acid would kill most reptiles. It has developed a specialized stomach lining to neutralize it. The same animal that neutralizes venom for breakfast and shoots blood at wolves for self-defense sits, from the outside, looking like a small rock with ambitions. It is not the most dangerous thing on this list, but it is, by any reasonable measure, the most committed. Basilisk lizard. The basilisk lizard can run on water, not metaphorically, not as a brief surface skim. Across open water, at speed, upright on two legs, for distances of up to 4.5 meters before it sinks, at which point it swims with complete competence, surfaces, and continues. The Basiliscus genus accomplishes this through a combination of speed and foot geometry. The hind feet are large, relative to body size, and fringed with small scales that increase surface area at the moment of impact. The stride rate reaches 20 steps per second. Each foot slaps the water and immediately creates a small air pocket before it sinks, and the lizard lifts off the next foot before the pocket collapses. The force required is significant. A juvenile weighing 90 grams can sustain the crossing. An adult, heavier, cannot maintain the speed-to-weight ratio and sinks within a few steps, which is why juvenile basilisks use the ability freely and adults mostly do not bother. The common name is Jesus Christ lizard, which was not assigned by biologists. It was assigned by the people who watched it do this and ran out of other words. Thorny devil. The thorny devil lives in the Australian desert, does not drink water, and has never needed to because it solved that problem structurally. The entire surface of Malak horridus, its back, legs, head, the spaces between its spines, is covered in microscopic channels, capillary channels. Any moisture that contacts any part of the animal's skin is drawn immediately toward the mouth. The mechanism works passively, with no muscular effort from the lizard. Morning dew, wet sand, condensation. If it touches the skin, it travels to the mouth. The channels are between 10 and 100 micrometers wide, narrower than a human hair, and the entire network processes moisture faster than the animal could lap water from a surface. Engineers studying the system have modeled it as a scalable passive hydration architecture, meaning the same principle that keeps a desert lizard alive is now being researched for water harvesting in arid environments. The thorny devil also has a false head, a fleshy protuberance on the back of its neck that it presents to predators by tucking its real head between its front legs. The false head gets bitten. The real head continues. It is the size of a human hand, eats only small black ants, and has engineered two separate survival solutions, one for water, one for predators, that humans are still trying to fully reverse engineer. Gecko. The gecko climbs glass, not because its feet are sticky, not because of suction, not because of any substance it secretes. The feet are dry. What they do is something more elegant. Each toe of a gecko's foot is covered in microscopic hair-like structures called setae, roughly 100 micrometers long. Each seta branches at the tip into even finer structures called spatulae, each one measuring around 200 nanometers across. The contact area created by millions of spatulae pressing against a surface brings them close enough to the surface molecules that van der Waals forces activate, the same quantum-level molecular attraction that acts between all atoms at short distances. The force per spatula is negligibly small. The force of several 100 million spatulae acting simultaneously can support the full body weight of a gecko against a vertical pane of glass. The bond is not chemical. It is a result of geometry and proximity at the molecular scale. The gecko detaches its foot by changing the angle. The spatulae peel away from the surface rather than pulling directly off it, which requires almost no force. It can attach and detach its feet 15 times per second while running. Researchers have used the same van der Waals principle to create a 70-kilogram human-rated climbing system. The demonstration worked. The limiting factor was not the science. It was that humans are considerably worse at running up walls than geckos. Saltwater crocodile. The saltwater crocodile is 200 million years old in the sense that matters. Not this individual animal, the design, the skull, jaw, sensory array, and ambush architecture have remained functionally unchanged since the Triassic. Whatever the planet threw at the animals around it, 5 mass extinctions, the asteroid, the ice ages, this particular engineering solution survived every one of them without meaningful revision. Crocodilus porosus is the largest living reptile, up to 6 meters, up to 1,000 kilograms, bite force of 16,000 newtons, the highest recorded for any living animal. The jaw closes with that force and opens with almost none, which is why a rubber band around a crocodile's snout is a legitimate restraint technique. The sensory pits covering the jaw, the small dark spots visible on the scales, are pressure and electromagnetic receptors called dermal pressure receptors, able to detect a single water droplet landing on the surface from distance. The animal detects the wave displacement from a mammal wading into water from meters away before it is visible. The attack takes less than a second from motionless. The crocodile outlasted the dinosaurs. It outlasted every apex predator that has gone extinct around it. It has no particular reason to stop. Inland taipan. The inland taipan has the most toxic venom of any snake ever tested by any measure. LD50 studies place it at 0.025 milligrams per kilogram body weight. A single bite delivers enough venom to kill 100 adult humans. It lives in the remote channel country of central Queensland, in cracked clay flats so isolated and inhospitable that it disappeared from scientific records between 1879 and 1972, nearly a century, during which it simply did not exist in the literature despite existing. It has accumulated no local mythology, no folk name weighted with dread, no centuries of documented kills, because the communities near it rarely encountered it. It is extraordinarily shy. Every recorded bite has involved a herpetologist handling one. Every single person survived with anti-venom. The inland taipan spent millions of years engineering the most lethal venom delivery system of any land animal on Earth, and pointed it at rodents in a desert that almost no one visits. It is a perfect weapon without a war to fight. Monitor lizard. The Nile monitor is one of the only non-mammalian animals confirmed to use coordinated cooperative hunting strategies. Groups have been observed. One monitor distracting a Nile crocodile from its nest, another raiding the unguarded eggs behind it. The roles are consistent across observations. They appear to be assigned. Monitor lizards have a feature almost unique among reptiles, a forked tongue combined with a Jacobson's organ that functions like a directional chemical detector, sampling particles from 2 separate inputs to triangulate the location of food or threat with precision comparable to a bloodhound working by scent. They can detect a carcass 11 kilometers away. The Komodo dragon is a monitor. The Nile monitor reaches 2 meters. The Parentier, Australia's largest, reaches 2.5 meters. The Salvadorese monitor, the longest lizard currently alive, reaches 2.7 meters and climbs trees. The extinct Megalania, the giant Australian monitor that went extinct approximately 40,000 years ago, possibly within the overlap of early human settlement, reached an estimated 7 meters and weighed 600 kilograms. It very likely had venom. The humans who arrived on that continent would have known what it was. Whether they considered it a monitor lizard or something else entirely is a question the fossil record does not answer. Tuatara. The tuatara is not a lizard. It resembles one completely, occupies the same ecological niche, and was classified as a lizard for decades after European science encountered it. It is not. Sphenodon punctatus is the sole surviving member of an entire order, Rhynchocephalia, that was globally distributed during the Mesozoic and is now extinct everywhere except New Zealand. It is not a living fossil in the dismissive sense. It has continued evolving. What it is the only surviving thread of a branch that diverged from lizards and snakes 240 million years ago. It has a third eye, a photoreceptive structure on the top of its skull, complete with a lens, retina, and cornea, which becomes covered by scales after a few months of life, and is likely used for circadian rhythm regulation rather than vision. Having it at all is remarkable. No other living reptile has a functioning parietal eye this anatomically complete. The tuatara grows until it is 35 years old. It reproduces every 4 years. It can live past 100. Its sperm remain viable at temperatures that would render most reptile sperm inert, an adaptation to New Zealand's cool climate. It is the slowest metabolizing reptile per unit of body mass yet measured. It chews by sliding its lower jaw forward and backward rather than up and down, a motion found in no other living vertebrate. It is not the most dangerous thing in this video. It is something stranger than dangerous. It is a window directly into a world that otherwise no longer exists, walking around on an island at the bottom of the Pacific, chewing in a direction nothing else chews, with an extra eye it stopped using 200 million years ago. If you want to see more, be sure to subscribe.